This video is going to show you a solo Grandmaster Nightfall on the newly added strike with Lightfall, which is called Hypernet current. And this is just going to show you for the purpose of the solo on just how to get the clear for the Gilded Triumph. For when you guild and you conquer sale, this is not platinum rank. So I'll say it again, this is not a platinum rank run. This is a cheese run using some exploits on weapons and exploits in the strike itself. So this is by no means a skilled run per se, but you will get to know how to solo clear this strike because it is pretty long and it's quite new, so people are going to find it difficult compared to like older strikes that we have like Glassway and stuff, just because it's new. So I can discuss the enemy spawns and stuff like that and some of the exploits that are used. So you can see at the start section I've skipped a couple of champs already, yeah, just because for time purpose. This section is going to be the Tormentor part. So as you come here, there's lots of turrets up. So you've got to sort of, you can take them up on that cliff area, but I skipped the initial turrets behind me, so I couldn't do that. Obviously this is a hunter exclusive run, so what I'm doing right now wouldn't apply to a hunter, to a warlock or a titan, just because obviously I'm invisible for quite most of it. This was also my first clear of it, so I wasn't familiar with everything. I knew a couple of things, but not like every single thing that I should know. So my first advice for this Tormentor section obviously is take out the 4 turrets on the locations and then control the cliff area. Once you get the control of the cliff area, you can do this Torment a bit quite easy. There's not much to it. It's just that there's a hell of a lot of snipers spawning. And in terms of resistance, what you want to use is, I went with double void arc. The threat is the threat for the Nightfall is arc, but there isn't a ton of arc. I mean, the scions do arc, the little taken scions, but for the most part, void is the biggest thing. Plus, the Tormentor does void, the boss does void, so it makes sense to go double void, even though the threat is arc. So double void, and then put an arc resist on an arc resistance as well. Once you get control of the cliff area like so, you can now fight from here. This is how you do the Tormentor section on GM mode. So you want to just take out as many sounds as you can, the snipers, because obviously if you get sniped from multiple angles, that can be bad. And the ads will gather up for you quite nicely when you fight from the cliff area. This is the best place to fight from solo wise, even if you're on Weller Radiance, which would be the better run than what the hunter run is. But obviously this is just to get an initial clear, right? Whenever you're doing a new solo on anything new, always go with the easiest path to get the clear first, so that you've learned the enemy spawns, and then after that, once you've learned it, you can then start using more technical subclasses and try and get a good time. Obviously go for platinum rank. I'll revisit the platinum rank on this. The reason why it isn't platinum rank and the reason why I decided to do a non-platinum clear is because I do not have a Vorpal scout rifle, believe it or not. Before Lightfall I had a clear out, and Vorpal, I have some Vorpal kinetic scouts, but not one Vorpal energy, and I've had them as well in the past. Why am I talking about that? Well, because Osteo, the poison damage, currently is bugged with Vorpal, the perk Vorpal. So if you apply poison to an enemy, then quickly swap to a weapon with Vorpal on it, you will then get the poison infinite damage bonus, right? So I still wanted a long range weapon. I know Osteo does a lot of work, but there's still at times you need a long range weapon, and on console Osteo has less range than what he does on PC. That's a definite thing. So console players are going to have a harder time when you play in long range engagements with Osteo as opposed to a PC player. And I know that for a fact because I've watched the footage and I've actually tried to copy somebody that had done some, like an exact scenario of what someone had done on PC to console, and I wasn't able to pull it off. The poison damage wasn't able to pull off as good. So that's why I still want a long range weapon on. The thing is, it's unstoppable scout though, isn't it? That's what I want, an unstoppable scout on, but I don't have Vorpals, which means the bug wouldn't work unless I swap to the rocket for the entire time, which is not ideal because that means once I swap off the rocket to an energy that didn't have Vorpal, I would lose the bug. So you can see how. That's why I've went for the cheese, because it would take so long to take down all the unstoppables without a scout rifle that the run would be an hour and 30 minutes plus. It would take that long. If I had the scout on, I could probably do it, right? But I don't. When I get a Staccato with Vorpal, which that's the most common weapon to get Vorpal, or Aisha's Embrace, the Trial Scout, there is there's another scout that rolls with Vorpal. I forget the name of it right now. But yeah, that's what you need, a Vorpal scout. Once you do that, you're good. Now, if you're on strand, it's a little different, isn't it? You can stun unstoppables with your abilities, but on Nightstalker, I'm unable to do that. In terms of heavy weapons as well, I recommend a rocket. A rocket for this run was fantastic. Generally, I use machine guns in GMs these days, but for this particular run, especially the boss fight, the rocket come in really clutch for me. So I do recommend a good rocket. This week is Solar Surge. The next time Hypernet's up, it might be Void Surge though. So you might not want Roar of the Bear. You might want something else. But yeah, a Solar Rocket was really good in this. And that also has Vorpal weapon on it, my rocket. So like you can see, you just want to keep stunning the Tormentor from up top, shooting the shoulder pads. Once you've shot both shoulder pads, the Tormentor is damageable to supers, poison damage from Osteo. So that's all you're going to do. You're going to get both stuns, and then you're just going to poison that Tormentor, and then quickly switch to your Vorpal energy, and then just sit up top, and then just damage with your bow. If you have the Vorpal Scout, which most people do, I can't believe I haven't got one, then you just use that. Right, you just keep peppering him with the Scout until the Torment is killed. So that's pretty much this. There's unstoppables that's going to be skipped on this as well. There is one there dead, but I don't kill the second unstoppable because there's no point anyways. Because the plan from the outset was to skip the unstoppables after this section because there's loads of them, and it would take ages just to do Osteo / bow. It would take a long time. Which, as I say, I'll revisit the run when I get a Vorpal Scout, then I'll do a proper run. For right now, this is just going to be showing you enemy spawns, because the boss fight is where people, I think, are going to struggle. Well, that and the Sparrow part, but there's an exploit for that. So that's my little bit of information on that bit. I'll start commenting back up again at the Sparrow part, because there's an exploit for that, or just before the Sparrow part. And then I'll continue on, because the rest of this is just me using the Osteo glitch. So once you've done the Tormentor section, like I said, there's a couple of unstartables. Presuming you've got your scout, you can take out all the unstartables, no problem. These are just the ones I'm skipping at the minute. So if you want to just do that, and you're not bothered about the platinum rating, let's be honest, Hypernet isn't the one to farm anyways. It's not a decent Nightfall, I would say, to farm. If you're struggling for golf balls, this isn't the one that you want to be coming in to do for such thing, or Nightfall ciphers. So once you've skipped that little section, this is the key thing, right? So in this section there's 3 Minotaurs, and each Minotaur drops a cranium. That is the key mechanic to this Nightfall. But the craniums have unique properties that they can take down, taking rifts and stuff in the sky that you see. So I've got one cranium there. What you need to understand is, from what I'm led to believe, once you pick up a cranium, it'll eventually despawn. Yeah? Now there's 3 craniums in this section. Actually, sorry, there's 4 craniums technically. So the first cranium is used just to take out a couple of the taken blights. Not all of them. Don't take them all out. Just so many. Get to the last cranium. Have all the scions killed. Then you need 3 craniums up. Not just 1, 3 on the ground. What happens is 2 will despawn, because they are meant to despawn, they're not meant to stay up. So this is an exploit. 2 will despawn randomly, and 1 of them will stay up. So I take down the last blight with my weapon, I go up the portal, but the cranium despawns. I was like, oh, I haven't done it right. So I walk back down just to double check, and it so happened to be the one that I did pick up did despawn. Whereas one of them, it's a lucky number. One of them will stay up. So this one has. It's just a random thing. But that's how I've had this exploit work twice consistently. And what happens is, When you do that, you can then do a mini exploit on the Sparrow section, making it easy. Right, so use the cranium to take down the rift, and that's it. There's no more taken rifts at the Sparrow section, so it's really good this. The remaining cranium that you have, you can just waste it. I'm taking out some of the ads over this side here, because you can actually do that. Sometimes they fight. Sometimes they do, they don't. Just be careful you don't fall off, because you shadow touch, so you cannot double jump, you cannot use abilities. The only thing you can do is walk and shoot your gun, or spawn your Sparrow. Obviously there's no taken rift, so it's easy. The Thrall will not kill you, providing that, as long as you don't jump off your Sparrow, it's impossible to die, unless you fall off the map. Which on my first run of this, I actually fell off the map, which I couldn't believe it. I made a fatal error. So, but on this run I didn't fall off, so that was good. But you can see, just follow the track round. Don't stop on any of the platforms. You don't need to. Any Sparrow works. I know I've got always on time, but it doesn't matter. Any Sparrow is fine. And then that's how you exploit the Sparrow section. The next section coming up is just a bunch of overloads and the bridge section. A good thing, because we've done that Sparrow exploit, we've also stopped all the rifts up this zone as well. I believe so, at least. I'm almost sure that we have done that. And then you can just, as I say, deal with the overloads from a distance. I've also got a bow on, so I've got overload bow. I've got overload twice, technically. There's a cranium there, which I should have took, and I forgot. What you do is you deal with all the overloads and stuff, and then you come back for that cranium and use it on the bridge section with the Solar Knight. I actually forgot to do that, but that's an option that you can do. This little section, because it was like sort of my first time getting to this zone on GM difficult, I was like, well, how many overloads? I didn't know if there was one or two, but there's actually two. But to fight, I was wanting, like, to fight them safely, I was wanting all these mini taken blights to explode. You can do that by running past them and then zoom back round. These overloads are the stasis ones, so they're not too bad to deal with. He's an example of Osteo not doing very well at range console. Look, here's the footage right now. You can see it. So you can see how it's just not. When you play on console, the rules of a console obey your weapon. Then, right? The weapon is obeyed by what platform you're on. So on PC, the rules are a little bit different to the rules on console for weapon types. Just like on PS4, the recoil is wild. On PS5 and Xbox Next Gen, that was removed, right? So the recoil is far easier to control than it is on last gen. But then PC is your next step. All right. Weapons have more range. They have less range drop off, and Osteo definitely does have less range drop off on PC as opposed to console. And everyone's using the Osteo right now because of the bug. So I've seen so many players use it, and I'm seeing certain instances where people are using it and like, yeah, you can't hit them with poison from 30 meters on console. You can't. It has a steeper range drop off, probably what it should be. So, but yet no one's really playing on console anyways, so it's not affecting anyone, is it really? Or people are playing on console, I beg your pardon, they're just not uploading. Nobody's uploading on console. Maybe because it's just too difficult for people. Maybe it's just because it's too much. Most console players aren't looking to upload runs, they're just looking to play the game, have fun with the game, I guess. So, with the bridge section, there is taken rifts. So I said before there wasn't, there is. Whether you do the Sparrow exploit or not. Just be careful, because the rifts will one-shot, so make sure you do not get hit by those rifts. I think they one-shot. I'm not willing to test it at 27 minutes, but I think they one-shot there, so just be careful. So this little section, Cleanse the Taken Rifts, is a neat little encounter. So this is teaching you what you need to do at the boss fight. So Same thing, there's a couple of Minotaurs. Each one will spawn a cranium. Before you deal with the cranium, try to aggro a lot of the cursed, not the taken thrall on you. Use rockets, don't be frightened to use them. I have field prep, I think, on this rocket. I think I do. I think it's the roll I'm using. Which showed, because I got lots of ammo. Tons of ammo in this run. I never came to the point where I was struggling for ammo. I was spamming my rocket quite a bit. So this was me just figuring out the best angle to take the overloads from and stuff. So this isn't by no means optimized. Plus there's a lot of void shields in middle, so I'm going to try and osteo them, then get that poison tick damage and swap back to my Vorpal primary. Like I say, if I'd run the scout, it would have made the run far more efficient. Obviously, it means I can stop unstoppables, because there are champions at the boss. There's unstoppables, there's overloads. The overloads aren't a problem. Overloads aren't a problem at all. It was the unstoppable. So I essentially done the final boss fight with no unstoppable rounds, making it harder. I made the final boss harder than what it needed to be, which isn't a bad thing when you're learning a new GM, because once you've really learned it, the next time you come to do it, really easy. Obviously it is going to be a little bit easier with the invis run, but if you're not going to do an invis run, to be honest, the next run would be Warlock Well. Because of how good Well of Radiance is right now and what you can out tank and the damage it does, and we all know how good Starfire Protocol is right now. It's literally probably the best build in the game right now for solo stuff. Unless you really do need invis, like Mars Battleground, you kind of need invisibility. There will be people do it without invis, I'm sure, but there's not many runs up. If you search it on YouTube, there's barely any runs of Mars solo or Hypernet. Two reasons. There could be a couple of reasons for that. Either because it's that hard no one can barely do it, or it's that hard that people have lost interest doing it in the first place. And it could be the latter. People might be starting to lose. They might have overtuned the game. You know, they might have. People aren't really interested in overcharged weapons and stuff. Why didn't they just give us burns? Why didn't they just do acute burns? I prefer acute burns to what we've got now. You know, because it's too complicated for people. They don't even know, like, overcharged weapons and surges don't stack. Right, where does it tell you that in the game? Where's the tooltip to tell you that? There's nowhere to tell you. Oh, it's in the TWAB. Alright, but I didn't read the TWAB. Imagine a player didn't read the tab. They wouldn't know that those two don't stack. We need to get some tooltips for modifiers. Tell us what they all do properly, rather than having to search YouTube every 2 minutes just to find one little piece of information out. There's a whole host of things they need to do to get the game optimized, and it's been a long time and still haven't done just basic stuff like this. Just get some good tooltips going. We've got Osteo ticking in the background. Sometimes this will not stun an overload. Sometimes it will, because with it being a bug. I have actually tested this on Glassware. With it being a bug, sometimes the overload will regen. Sometimes not. Obviously I'm hitting him with 2 overload weapons here, so it is working. But I'm just saying, say for example I only had the scout and I done the trick, the overload, the poison trick, then didn't re-stun with Osteo. Sometimes it won't re-stun him even though that poison is on that champ. It's a buggy thing, it's a buggy interaction. So all champs are taken care of now. It's closed the rifts, so just spam the cranium. You've got more than enough. Just make sure you leave one left. Don't pick up one of them. Don't pick up, because like I've said, once you pick up a cranium, that cranium will then despawn. But if you don't pick it up, it will stay there and it will not despawn. It's very similar to how swords work. The relic swords, when you pick them up, they are losing energy in the background. Once you get to 50% rifts closed, 3 ogres spawn in the middle with some scions. Not scions, sorry, the thrall, taken thrall. You want to use a tether initially as they spawn. Then I would recommend going invis, rocket, invis type thing. But whenever you're prepping yourself to do a rocket, make sure taking fall doesn't teleport in front of you, then you instantly die. And just pay attention to when all your ogres are killed. Like, I wasn't sure if I killed them all, but I had. That's the thing of keeping an eye on your kill feed. I'd lost track of keeping an eye on it. Obviously, the invisibility that we're using is 6 Coyote, which is... It does the job. It's not fancy. It was good. I could have used any invis exotic that you want to use. So if you want to use Omnioculus, it'll work. If you want to use Graviton Forfeit, it'll work. Whatever you want, really. I just didn't want to do Graviton because I couldn't be bothered speccing a strength build today on my hunter. See, the Graviton build is the best invis build in my opinion, but it's harder to spec for because you need tier 10 strength, tier 10 mobility, tier 10 resilience. And I delete a lot of strength stuff because the game's changed over time with stat distribution and all this stuff, you know what I mean? Whereas with the 6 Coyote, it's a little bit easier to spec for, still does the job. All you need is tier 10 mobility, tier 10 resilience. So it's easier to spec for the 6 Coyote build. Maybe not quite as good as Graviton, but like I say, there'll be people with Omnioculus builds. That's also another one, but again, you need that strength. And because Powerful Friends has been nerfed, the plus 20 mobility, not powerful, well, yeah, Powerful Friends and is it Radiant Light, the one that give you plus 20 strength. There was one for plus 20 strength, and then there was Powerful Friends. Because of all that, Hunter has been indirectly nerfed because of it, which is an annoyance, if I'm being honest, with the stat distributions. So I've picked up a cranium. Like I said, that was important that you do that, so that you've got a cranium for the boss fight, because that's what you can do. I only use it so much, but when it comes to a point when I need to invis, I'm going to have to drop the relic. So this first phase is mainly Centurions and Phalanxes. So you've got to understand all the attacks that is happening. So first and foremost, you've got the boss that does two different attacks. He has the solar blaster things that he'll shoot left and right. He has the taken walls and the orbs. The orbs are the biggest threat to you. So with Hunter Invisibility, this is what you need to know. Most people don't even know this. There are two different types of invisibility. The Trapper's Ambush is a different type of invisibility to the Vanishing Step. See, because before they changed Void 3.0, before that we used to have the smoke bomb invis and then the step, and they would react with adds differently. So the step dodge would always be a definite invisibility, which means the adds wouldn't be able to sense your every move. Whereas the Trapper's ambush, the smoke bomb, or the Trapper's ambush, which is now, that is only half of invisibility. So you are invisible, but the enemies know where you are, or are more likely to sense where you are. This is also true for the Void Track and Orbs. So if I vanish in step, if I do a vanish in step invis, when the orbs are coming, the orbs are still tracking me. If I do a vanish in step 1, the orbs will not track me. So even though Void 3.0 got updated, that inherent trait of each invisibility stayed with the invisibility, with the different invisibilities that we have. So in other words, don't use Trapper's Ambush when the blights are about to hit you, the orbs. You have to use the Vanishing Step, which in actual fact, now I think about it, 6 Coyote is better than Graviton because you're doing more dodges, right? So you'll see it loads of times when there's blights coming to me, the void stuff, I'll just do a Trapper's Ambush, sorry, a Vanishing Step, and then all the blasts don't know where I am, and they sort of they stop tracking me. It's like in Proving Grounds, the same deal. So that little thing I've just said for the last minute or two, a lot of hunters aren't going to know. So you need to make sure that you know that there's two different types of invis, and when there's tracking orbs, the vanishing step's the more powerful invisibility because it stops tracking. The vanishing step won't. Or if you throw an old-fashioned smoke bomb, that won't stop it either. But you can outrun the void orbs anyways. So right now with this phase 1, because you've got so many void orbs coming at you, you've got the centurions, you've got the boss, you've got a champ. There's so many void blights chasing you that you need to make sure you take out the centurions first. Don't deal with boss DPS yet. Boss DPS doesn't even matter right now. Right now you just need to focus on all the centurions taken care of. But you need to do map rotation, so you see the room. There's no, I don't know if there's any exploits in this room to sort of sit. I haven't explored enough, and I haven't seen any videos on it either to say that there is a safe zone to stand. So you just need to do map rotation. And if you weren't doing a hunter run, it would be the same deal. Anyways, you'd be constantly doing map rotation. You cannot stand anywhere for too long at all. So you just need to keep, like I say, invising up at any time you think you're going to die. Doing nades, taking out centurions, rockets. Like, I'm spamming my rockets, but I'm getting 3 rockets per brick. You can see that because I think field prep is stacking with soulless scavenger, like the old school scavengers, because that's what they are. Field prep always did. That's why field prep's is a top tier perk. So this rocket is an absolute top tier pick for this run. So obviously there's an unstoppable. So this is going to be super slow because of that. I'm going to have to apply the poison and let the poison deal with the unstoppable, really. It's just finding a moment of when you can do that. Like I said, with this being my first clear, it won't be a fully optimized run or nothing, but you will learn from my mistakes or my findings with it. So generally what people will do, like a YouTuber who does like solo runs, they'll do the run, they'll do the research to find out the run, then they'll redo another one. This run was just my first clear of it, so ideally I should have went to orbit and then redone the run, etc., or maybe farmed up a scout. I didn't do that. I didn't bother with it. Just went to get the clear. That's basically it. The champion is half HP less. Obviously use your tether on the champ. That's a good thing, just because the champion having so much health. Try and get the champ finishable least. That's what I'm trying to do. Always be aware of the boss, and always keep an eye on your HP at all times. See, the taken walls will bypass any object in this map, right? But the soulless stuff that he does, obviously, won't bypass stuff. So you've got to, like I said, that's another reason why you've got to keep map rotation. Problem with this as well, the unstoppable will aggro then de-aggro, and then you don't know where the unstoppable is, and then it's kind of like an annoyance. But that's phase 1 anyways. Once the unstoppable's killed, you'll have obviously phase 2, which is completely different to this. In my opinion, this probably is the hardest phase for me, just because there was so many centurions tracking you. I found it the most difficult. Phase 2 is all about snipers and overload, and phase 3 is where there's more Vex and stuff, and there's the boss rotates around the map sort of thing. Trying to get the stun, but I was frightened I was going to get booped. This is the pain of not having a scout. It got me thinking as well when I looked through my vault and I couldn't get a Vorpal, and I couldn't get a Vorpal scout and stuff. I was thinking, why can't we just have weapon perks to be mods. So just like we have armor mods where we have utility kickstart, void surge, whatever it might be, I would just prefer the game now. I know there's random rolls and people love random rolls, but I would prefer the game just to allow you to place and pick mods or perks. So once you get explosive payload, for example, or Vorpal weapon, you own that mod, and then you apply it to your gun. So you said we got crafting, right? We got weapon crafting. To me, when I've heard that initially, I thought we were going to get mods that we could apply to any gun, providing that it's applicable. Obviously, explosive payload wouldn't work on a rocket launcher, for example. So there'll be some limitations. Some mods wouldn't be allowed to be put on certain guns. I understand that, but for the most part, you would own that. So if you've got explosive payload, you could put that on any scar rifle that you own, or Vorpal weapon. Like in other games, a very similar game like Outriders. I think Outriders had where you had mods and you just applied them. So yeah, make perks mods, and when you're crafting, you just put it on, right? Sort of thing like that, as opposed to like, because I've had lots of Vorpal in the past, right? But when we delete these perks, because perks get nerfed and buffed over time, right? So an example, Adrenaline Junkie was a bad perk when it first got launched, and then gradually it got better and better and better. But when people initially got Adrenaline Junkie, they deleted it. It was an instant hot delete. And then when they get it buffed, oh, I can't get Adrenaline Junkie to drop now on the gun that I was wanting. I'm just giving you an example. So, because it's a live game that keeps changing, it's annoying when you've got a god roll of a weapon, then you've deleted it at a time when it wasn't as strong, but now it's stronger. It's just an annoyance. Plus, there's vault limitations. I deleted a lot of Vorpal scouts before Lightfall because, well, like I didn't know there was going to be an Osteo glitch where Vorpal was required. It is an unintended thing, but it still put me at a disadvantage now because I've got to wait and refarm up Vorpal scouts for them to then fix the glitch for me to not need the Vorpal again. Do you see the annoyance of it all? So yeah, I just think the game would be totally better if you could just place perks as mods in and out of weapons. Fair enough, you want us to jump through loopholes to do that. Make it so the only crafted weapons can do that. And I know it would take away from random rolls. But I should be allowed to have a simple perk like Vorpal weapon at any time available to me to put on a gun. I know like raid perks should be exclusive to raid guns and all that stuff. But I'm on about like standard stuff. I should be able to have it available to me at any time. Even if I've deleted it in the past. I've deleted it because there's vault limitations with the game still, because there's that many different weapons aren't sunset anymore, so there's just so much, there's too much in the game now, and you are at a disadvantage if you delete stuff in the past when you shouldn't have done. And that's just one example. There's hundreds and hundreds of examples I could think of. So on phase 2, once you take out 67% of the blights, the boss spawns at the back of the map. I didn't know that. I learned that on the run. The boss spawned literally on top of me. Luckily, the boss didn't have a stomp mechanic, unless I would have died. I'm going to use my tether here because it's just a good opportunity to do that. Plus, there's Vex still up. What you want to do as well, like I've said earlier about the craniums, there's 4 Vex Minotaurs spawned there, so that'll be 4 craniums. So if you don't pick up any of them, if you pick up 1 to do the job that you need to take blights, that's another 3 craniums you can use for ad clear and boss damage. So leave them on the ground. You save them for later on. You don't need them right now. And they are decent for ad clear. I just found it difficult because I need to go invis, and when I go invis it means I drop the cranium. So I was kind of losing craniums because of that. But on a warlock run, when you pop your wells, when you've got a cranium, it does massive damage. You can melt champions with it, do massive damage to the boss as well. So the craniums are a tool not just for the rifts, for the blights, but they're also for helping you with ag clear and stuff like that. And it'll help you out on team runs, especially a lot of people like score runs on this particular Nightfall, so it's good for that as well. Because you can destroy the blights with just your weapons. It takes longer, but you can do that. Obviously, on phase 2 as well, the boss isn't focused on you, look. It's only focused on the Vex, so you need to leave some of the Vex alive. That's why I found phase 2 easier than phase 1. Phase 1 was more difficult because it was you and the boss and Centurions. That's what I didn't like about it. But on phase 2, there's a bit more room to breathe. I've left a Minotaur up on purpose, just for this purpose. We'll apply our poison bug, then we'll run away. Then we'll destroy the rest of the blights. Then it's damage. And then obviously for that we just need to get close enough to the boss, which on console is going to be what, 25 meters. We need to get within 25 meters of the boss, and then apply our poison bug, and then we just equip our Vorpal weapon. I could have made it work a bit better. I could have put on a non-Vorpal scout and then tried to make it work with a rocket. That probably still would have been better than what I'm doing now, because I have 2 overload weapons on. But that's me thinking after hindsight. You know what I mean? So this particular phase is also mainly snipers, so you've got to be careful. This is where your tether or whatever class you want, your super will come in really handy. So I'm just going to take them out safely as best as I can. Like I say, the craniums are really good for ag clear as well, but don't be baited into that too much, because the boss does now blights. On the phase just before, the boss was not doing the purple blights, the track and blights, but now the boss is doing that. So you've only got so long to do a bit of ag clear, and then you've got to invis up, because the hunter hasn't got, apart from invis on Nightstalker, you haven't got that ag clear unless you run a void machine gun, which I was gonna, but the rocket worked out good as well. So I think for hunter at least, the rocket's the play. For maybe other classes like a warlock and stuff, a void machine gun would be the play, because of the fact that you get tons of heavy when you're using void weapons this particular season. So here you'll see with the blights, like I say, you can just outrun them. This isn't as bad as the Centurion phase, like I said, just because there's not as much tracking you, but you do be careful not to do unstun damage to the champ, because then it'll enrage the champion to do damage to you. Obviously, when you're doing your Vanishing step, that will suppress the enemy, so try and do that as well when you can. And always, like, sort of, I know there's no radar, but always be aware of your surroundings on what, how long ago was it the boss done blights? Where's the champion situated? Is he to your left? Is he in front of you? Is it safe to get some of the ads? Because one moment of lapse of concentration, then that can be the run over for this, because it is still Grandmaster, so you do take quite a bit of damage, and there's no safety, as far as I'm aware, for this boss fight on where to stand, unless something comes out. So it's safe now for us to do some damage. This is the tether. I think we've missed our rocket there, that's unfortunate. But the champ is basically finishable at that point. There's some blights behind us. Like I say, you can shoot them. The bow's not ideal for it though. Osteo's pretty good because it tracks them. So we need to apply our poison buff, and then just run around the map a little bit. like I say, you're better off just doing this. There's no point shooting them unless you are on a different subclass. In terms of how I think this Nightfall is, I think it's a play on the old Venus strike a little bit, even though it's like Hypernet themed. Can't mind the strike now. I can't remember what it was called, but it was a dome-shaped area like this, but there was a lot more cover and stuff. It's decent. It's a decent GM. I don't know. I think the boss arena could be designed a bit better. I know you keep shooting out blights and stuff, but I don't mind it. It's okay. I think it's better than what the Mars Nightfall is, because that's not even. Let's be honest. That's not even a Nightfall. That isn't. I will be doing a solo on that as well, obviously on all of them. But for the battlegrounds as a Nightfall, as a GM, it isn't a GM. It is a battlegrounds. Why is it in the playlist? The reason why I think it's in the playlist is to keep GMs fresh, or they're trying to, without designing a new strike. So we don't need to design a new strike. We've got Europa, we've got the Moon Battlegrounds, and we've got this. We'll have this as a strike. We've saved some cash. I don't like it. I don't like the philosophy of doing that. Battlegrounds is Battlegrounds. I want some new strikes, because what a strike is it's meant to be to tell you a story of a chapter within Destiny on and of what happened. Right, the Battlegrounds doesn't have any theme to it. It's part of Battlegrounds, so there's no theme, right? It's just sort of a big guy from what's he from that dungeon. It's just the general big hive person that you see, the boss. So it has no meaning. There's no context to the actual Nightfall. But it's not a Nightfall, is it? They're just doing that just to, because they know by now we've seen every GM at least two to three times. So they're starting to run out of ideas with the Conqueror thing. I mean, how many times were we going to gild it? So that's why they're doing it. Is it the right thing? I don't know. I don't think it is, because not many people are uploading runs on it. And everybody I see, all the comments I see people do on it, are commented on that particular Nightfall. They've all said, most people have said, oh, it's not a good design choice. It's not a good thing. And I don't think it is either. So we just need to get rid of the rest of the rifts. There is another wave where there's going to be champions. Once I take out all the rifts, I believe. Notice the boss again, he's not concentrated on me because there's Vex up. Done that on purpose, so that the boss doesn't keep firing at me. The boss is also on the outside of the map, which is actually good, in all honesty. I don't mind the final phase. It's phase 1, I find it, as I said, to be the toughest. One more, that's actually all the rifts. So it should be, that's the wave there. Now if I was a bit more optimized in my play, I would have done a tether there. If I was closer to the enemy spawn as they spawned in, I would have definitely tethered and tried to clear out all these scions. Not particularly the champ. It's not the champ that I was wanting to clear out, but a lot of these sounds. So we'll use a tether here, a rocket or two as well. While the tether's still up, that damage is going to share out and chain to all the rest of the ads. Because these sounds will duplicate. It's not as bad as it used to be, the duplication of sounds, but it's still bad enough. Plus the boss is doing that void stuff, so you need to multitask your abilities, your ad control, while making sure you're not getting hit by that void stuff, because you will die off that void. I don't know how many shots it takes. I obviously am tier 10 resilience with double void resist. I don't know. Might be 2 that I can tank, but maybe not 3. Like I say, I'm 59 minutes in, so I wouldn't test that right now, would I? But the best advice is just, obviously, we've just been on hunter, you shouldn't be getting hit by it anyways. At the very minimum, one a time, but that's at the most. This is a good rocket, because all the ads have been de-aggroed because I was in Viz, so they don't know where I am, so they just stood there. There's one Scion there. I need to take down that sound because I'm frightened that sound's going to duplicate, so there's loads of them again. So I need to make sure I get rid of that Scion. And these Phalanxes. Brother Bear's one-shotting these orange bar Phalanxes on GM, so that's decent. That I thought it wasn't going to leave them one shot. The fact it's actually killing them like that is really good. It's because the Solar Surge this week is helping us out. That's another thing as well. If you don't do your Well Radiant solo run this week, next week it's going to be Void Surge, because remember, Strand Surge is on for the entirety of the season, Strand, but they cycle week to week from Void to Solar. That's kind of unfortunate, because that means the Solar is going to be a bit more difficult for Warlocks next week as opposed to this week. That's why I'm not a fan of these rotating Surge things. Like, just give us a burn. Give me the burn, and that's what it is. Like, have an identity to the Nightfall. So, like, for example, Glassware, I have the identity as Glassware of being a Void Burn Nightfall. This week it wasn't. It was Solar, so it felt weird to me. It was like, no, this is meant to be Void. It makes sense that it's Void as well, because a lot of stuff does Void to you. With the Surges, it doesn't make... sorry, that's Frets, isn't it? It doesn't make much sense. Yeah, it's got Void Fret, Glassware, but I always remember it being a cute Void Burn. I associate that burn with that run. And that's not the case now. It's only for the enemy. It's like a little bit one-sided. So it's another reason why the Surge system doesn't work. With it being on rotations, they're putting burns on strikes that are not meant to be intended to be on that particular GM in the first place when they initially designed it. So that's another reason. I don't mind Surges in like dungeons, because you can triple stack them and get your build, your armor charge maximum, and then do good damage and all that stuff. Kind of use it like we did with the Font of Might, in a sense. I like it that for that aspect, but I don't like the Surges for the Nightfalls with the way they do it, because you are indirectly upsetting Arc players who play Arc. What about them? So for the entirety of this season, you're not going to see much Arc. Although there is people playing Arc, but not that much, because of the stupid Surges. So there should never be mods where they directly impose on a element too much for an entire season. You can't do that to players. There's people who play Arc Titan who main Arc Titan. What about those players? You've upset them for an entire season, not just for 1 week, but for an entire season. Whereas Void Hunters and Solar Warlocks are having a great time this season because the Surges are matching for them. It's matching for them, but not for your Arc Titans. So that's another reason why I don't like the Surge. The only thing I do agree with is having a Strand Surge on, because it's the new subclass this season. Fair enough, that's fine. It's the other ones that are questionable. That was close up, but you can see as I initially done the Vanishing Step, all the Void Orbs detract me. With a Vanishing Step, yeah, not a Trapper's Ambush. If I'd done a Trapper's Ambush, my melee function, I would have definitely died there. But I'm trying to get the damage in on this Unstoppable so we can get done with the run, whilst also, keeping an eye on these Void Orbs. You can see I'm less than a third there, only one hit me, so you can see you can't tank too much. The champion is taken out. We've got Craniums. Like I say, you can use them. You can use the Craniums to shoot down the orbs and stuff. They do massive damage, and they give you a lot of super energy. I need to apply my Void, my Poison buff, so I'll do that now. I'll speed up the footage as well. So once I've applied that, just swap off. Kinetic Holster would have been good. I didn't use Kinetic Holster, but I should have done. Because what would happen is you apply your Poison buff with Osteo, and then once you swap back to it at a later time, it's reloaded, which would have been a hand, to be honest. So I recommend you put that on. But all the mods and everything were at the start of the video, if you're interested what it was, and obviously I'll do a dim link, as you usually do. I've got plenty of rockets now as well, so I can just speed up the damage on this boss. But that was showing you how to solo guild, that was showing you how to get the triumph for the solo Conqueror Gild only. Obviously not platinum, because we did skip some of the unstartables and stuff like that. Luckily the taken walls don't one-shot, because I was left red, but they definitely, you can't take any more damage than that. But that was a solo on it. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.